As the UES Intrepid sliced through the vacuum of space, its shadow cast a chilling pall over the bustling Zephyria star system, silencing the usual hum of interstellar commerce. Aboard the bridge, Captain Elena Mirov's heart raced with a mix of dread and defiance. The galaxy watched, wary and uncertain, as humanity's colossal emissary emerged as a harbinger of change, desired by some, feared by many. The star system of Zephyria, a vibrant nexus of trade and diplomacy, thrummed with life. Its space lanes teemed with merchants and diplomats from countless species, each a thread in the rich tapestry of galactic civilization. The arrival of the Earth battleship, however, introduced an unsettling note into the harmony of the system. The ship's massive engines rumbled, a deep basso continuo that resonated through the vacuum, felt rather than heard by the sensitive technologies of nearby vessels and stations. Captain Mirov stood at the forefront of the bridge, her gaze fixed on the main viewport. The stars stretched out before her, a vast field of luminescent jewels set against the eternal night. Her crew moved around her, a ballet of efficiency and tension, their faces set in determined, anxious lines. Elena's reputation as a tactician and diplomat preceded her, built over years of navigating the fine line between aggression and diplomacy. Yet the weight of her current mission pressed down on her like the gravity of a neutron star. Earth's expansion had been aggressive, too aggressive for the liking of many older established civilizations like those in Zephyria. As her ship's colossal silhouette filled the screens of local ships and stations, she knew they did not see a ship of peace. They saw an omen of conquest, perhaps a prelude to war. Sweat beaded at her temples, not from heat. Her ship was climate-controlled to perfection, but from the pressure of millions of eyes upon her, judging, calculating. With every parsec the Intrepid advanced, the tangled web of galactic politics grew ever tighter around her. This mission could cement Earth's place as a dominant force in the galaxy, or it could ignite the flames of a war that would scorch the stars themselves. As the UES Intrepid approached the outer markers of the Zephyria system, alarms began to chirp softly, signaling their crossing into governed space. Elena straightened her uniform, a crisp, dark fabric that felt like armor against the coming trials. "Steady," she murmured, both to herself and to her crew, her voice a calm command amidst the storm of uncertainty, reverberated slightly in the quiet of the bridge. The UES Intrepid was not just a ship, it was a declaration, a statement of Earth's ambition and its capability. Elena's next actions would dictate the future not just for her crew, but for all of humanity. And as the vast and varied citizens of Zephyria watched, some with open curiosity, others with hidden fear, Elena knew the delicate dance of power and diplomacy was about to begin. As the colossal shadow of the UES Intrepid loomed closer, the bustling commerce of the Zephyria system felt a sudden, unspoken tension. The diverse inhabitants, from traders with skin shimmering like stars to diplomats with eyes as deep as black holes, turned their sensors towards the newcomer, their routines disrupted by the unexpected guest. Inside the sophisticated chambers of the Zephyrian Council, an emergency session convened. The vast room, shaped like a half-sphere, was lined with representatives seated according to their species' seniority and influence. The air was thick with a mix of exotic scents and the low buzz of translated discussions. High above, the transparent dome offered a view of space where the Intrepid's imposing form was visible, a silent assertion of Earth's growing ambition. Captain Elena Mirov, alongside her diplomatic envoy, entered the council chamber under the weight of many speculative glances. Her uniform, sharp and pristine, contrasted starkly with the more colorful attire of the alien diplomats. Every step she took echoed slightly in the vast circular chamber, her boots clicking against the polished stone floor. General Farkle, his figure cloaked in a garment that flowed like liquid metal, watched her approach from his elevated seat. His eyes, glowing faintly with a soft golden hue, betrayed nothing of his thoughts, yet his mind was a whirlwind of strategy. As the leader of the Zephyrian Defense Forces and a master of galactic politics, he knew the stakes were high. Earth's recent expansions had not gone unnoticed, and the presence of their most formidable battleship in a non-military zone was an aggressive move he could not overlook. Elena reached the center of the chamber, the spot where countless decisions that shaped the galaxy had been argued and forged. She stood alone, her back straight, as her voice carried across the chamber, aided by the room's acoustics. "Honorable members of the Zephyrian Council," she began, her tone clear and resonant. "Earth comes in peace. We seek to join this community, not as conquerors, but as allies. Our presence here in the Intrepid is merely a testament to our commitment and our capability to uphold the laws and order of this galaxy." Murmurs filled the chamber as her words were translated into hundreds of languages. Tharkul rose gracefully, his movements smooth and assured. "Captain Mirov," he replied, his voice a soothing balm that seemed to calm the stirring room. "While we appreciate the robustness of Earth's commitment, you must understand the anxieties that accompany such a formidable declaration of peace." Elena noted the veiled tension in his tone. "We understand the concerns," she conceded, "and are prepared to engage in open dialogue and cooperative actions to assure all of Zephyria of our intentions." The session progressed with each species expressing their views. Some were cautiously optimistic, intrigued by the potential benefits of a strong ally like Earth. Others echoed Tharkul's apprehensions, their speeches laced with diplomatic politeness, but underscored by a fear of Earth's aggressive history. As the meeting adjourned, Tharkul and Elena exchanged a long look, each aware that the real game of chess had just begun. Outside, as the council members departed in their various graceful or abrupt manners, the stars continued to twinkle indifferently. But for those within the chamber, the alignment of powers had subtly shifted. Elena returned to the Intrepid, her mind racing with the day's encounters. The diplomatic dance was delicate, and the ground was fraught with hidden traps. Her mission was clear, but the path to achieving it was clouded with complexities that went beyond mere politics. As the Intrepid stood silently against the backdrop of distant stars, it was both a beacon of Earth's aspirations and a shadow over Zephyria's tranquility. The delicate balance of power had been disturbed, and the ripples would soon reach the far corners of the galaxy. The silence of the cosmos contrasted sharply with the tumultuous thoughts racing through Captain Elena Mirov's mind as she gazed out of her quarters aboard the UES Intrepid. The stars, once mere points of light in the vast darkness, now seemed like eyes, watching, waiting for her next move. The weight of her responsibility pressed heavily upon her shoulders. Her decision would not only define her career, but potentially the future of interstellar diplomacy for Earth. Back on the Zephyrian Council station, General Tharkul retreated to his private quarters, a room adorned with relics and artifacts from across the galaxy, each a trophy of diplomacy or conquest. His mind, ever calculating, ran through various scenarios, each branching into myriad possibilities. Tharkul was not one to believe in peace offered on the platter of a battleship, and he was determined to protect the fragile stability of the galaxy from what he perceived as Earth's imperialistic tendencies. Meanwhile, Elena convened a closed meeting with her senior staff in the Intrepid strategy room. The holographic table in the center illuminated the room with soft blue light, casting large shadows on the walls. "We need to tread carefully," she stated, her eyes scanning the room, meeting those of her trusted officers. "Our mission is peaceful, but our presence here is clearly causing tension. We must find a way to build trust with the Zephyrian Council and counter any covert actions from those who wish to see us fail." Her chief diplomat, a seasoned officer named Commander Lee, nodded in agreement. "I suggest we initiate a series of cultural exchanges and joint scientific missions. If we can collaborate on neutral grounds, perhaps we can soften the image of the Intrepid from a symbol of war to one of mutual progress." Elena considered the suggestion thoughtfully. "Prepare a proposal, Commander. Detail every aspect of how these missions could be beneficial for all parties. We need to show that we are here to contribute, not just to dominate." As Elena strategized with her crew, Tharkul was orchestrating his own plans. He convened with other military leaders from various species, using secure communication channels. The humans are skilled in the art of war disguised as diplomacy, he explained to his counterparts. We must unite to safeguard our interests, observe and prepare. We may need to act swiftly if they step out of line. The Zephyrian space was abuzz with covert activities. Ships from various systems began subtle patrols, gathering intelligence and showing a united front. This display of silent solidarity was meant to send a clear message to the intrepid. The galaxy was not without its own defenses. Elena, aware of the increasing activities around Zephyria, felt the isolation growing. Each diplomatic gesture seemed overshadowed by the looming specter of the intrepid's perceived threat. The tension was palpable, even among her crew, who picked up on the subtle changes in their captain's demeanor and the whispered concerns among the senior officers. Late one evening, as the artificial night cycle began on the Intrepid, Elena found herself walking along the observation deck, the starscape sprawling infinitely before her. Her thoughts drifted to Earth, to the family she had left behind, and the peace she so dearly wished to see in her lifetime. The burden of command felt lonelier than ever. Her communication officer approached hesitantly, breaking her reverie. "Captain, a message from the Council. They've agreed to consider your proposals for joint missions." A flicker of hope stirred in Elena's chest. "Thank you, Lieutenant," she replied, her voice steady but her heart racing with cautious optimism. The stage was set, the players positioned, and the galaxy watched as the dance of diplomacy continued, each step measured, each gesture loaded with the weight of potential futures. As the stars bore silent witness, the lines between friend and foe blurred in the intricate ballet of galactic politics. The Zephyria star system, a vibrant hub of interstellar trade and diplomacy, now echoed with the soft thrum of tension that had escalated to a palpable presence, almost like another entity aboard the UES Intrepid. Captain Elena Mirov, though schooled in the art of keeping her emotions tightly reined, could feel the strain affecting her crew. Each officer performed their duties with an added edge of urgency, reflecting the charged atmosphere that the looming confrontations had birthed. In the darker recesses of the system, away from the prying sensors of the Council's watchful eyes, small, agile crafts darted about, mere shadows against the vast backdrop of space. These were the emissaries of sabotage, orchestrated by General Tharkle to simulate provocations that could be blamed on Earth's forces. The skirmishes were minor: damaged trade ships, disrupted navigation beacons, a pattern designed to stir up fear without causing outright panic. Back on the Intrepid, Elena received reports of these incidents with a growing sense of frustration. "Show me the surveillance data," she demanded during a strategy meeting, her voice calm but underlain with steel. The images displayed were grainy, the attacks swift and leaving behind little evidence. "These skirmishes are meant to bait us into an aggressive response," she analyzed, addressing her senior staff who gathered around the holographic displays. Commander Lee, her chief diplomat, suggested a countermove. "Captain, if we escalate now, we'll play right into their hands. Perhaps a show of restraint could strengthen our position in the upcoming diplomatic talks." Elena considered this, her mind racing through scenarios. "Prepare a statement condemning these attacks and reiterating our commitment to peace," she decided, not willing to let the provocations dictate their course. Meanwhile, on a small, discreetly armed cruiser, General Tharkle watched the same skirmishes unfold with a different perspective. His eyes, keen and calculating, missed nothing of the chaos sown by his hidden directives. "Increase the pressure," he instructed his subordinates, "but keep the operations covert. We must not give the humans a clear target to strike back at." As the Intrepid maintained its orbit, a civilian Zephyrian trade convoy was targeted. A subtle explosive device disabled the lead ship's engines, leaving it adrift. Emergency distress signals blared, echoing through the nearby sectors. The timing was impeccable, striking just as a delegation from the Intrepid was scheduled to visit a nearby diplomatic station. Elena received the distress call mid-briefing. Her decision was immediate and reflected the dual nature of her mission: military strength tempered with diplomatic foresight. "Deploy rescue shuttles," she ordered, seizing the opportunity to demonstrate Earth's goodwill. Offer assistance, and make sure our efforts are well documented and communicated to the Council. The rescue operation was swift and efficient. Earth's personnel boarded the crippled vessel, providing technical and medical assistance. Cameras attached to the rescuers' suits streamed the operation live, ensuring that every gesture of goodwill was observed by the galaxy. The Zephyrian media, always eager for a story, broadcasted the rescue with a frenzy, painting the humans in a light contrary to the narratives Tharkle had hoped to propagate. His plan, though successful in creating doubts, began to falter under the unexpected demonstration of Earth's benevolence. Elena watched the media's coverage from her office, a slight smile touching her lips as she saw her crew's professionalism and kindness displayed for all the galaxy to see. It was a small victory, but in the chess game of galactic politics, every pawn mattered. The calm of the UES Intrepid's observation deck was deceptive, the tranquility of the stars outside belying the storm of diplomatic machinations unfolding across the Zephyria system. Captain Elena Mirov stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her gaze fixed on the void, reflecting on the chessboard of galaxies where every move was fraught with potential disaster or triumph. A staged crisis was looming, a crescendo in the symphony of tension orchestrated by General Tharkle. The Zephyrian trade ships incident had not sparked the outrage he had anticipated. Instead, Earth's humanitarian response won them an unexpected cache of goodwill. Tharkle, however, was far from defeated. His next play involved a more direct assault, one that would force Elena's hand. The news of the attack came through during the early hours aboard the Intrepid, a civilian space station where a Zephyrian cultural festival was being held, a festival that boasted attendance by various diplomatic envoys including humans, was struck. The orchestration was meticulous. The attack was non-lethal but disruptive, calculated to appear as an act of aggression by rogue elements within Earth's faction. The station's life support systems were sabotaged, causing panic but no casualties, a delicate balance that pointed to a warning rather than an act of war. Elena received the report from her security chief, her face an unreadable mask, though her eyes betrayed her concern. This was the tipping point she had feared, a direct challenge that could not be ignored. "Gather the senior staff. I want options," she ordered, her voice crisp, belying the turmoil within. In the war room, the atmosphere was thick with urgency. Her team assembled rapidly, each member aware that their responses could very well determine the future of Earth's galactic presence. "This looks like a setup," Commander Lee stated, pointing to the overlays of security footage on the holographic projector. "The saboteurs used tactics that are textbook for Earth's special ops, but the execution was sloppy, uncharacteristic of our trained units." Elena nodded, her mind racing through scenarios. "We need to turn this situation around. Prepare a full investigative team. I want our people to lead the effort to repair the station and aid in the investigation. We must be transparent and cooperative. Show them that we are part of the solution, not the problem." Meanwhile, on his flagship, General Tharkle watched the unfolding events with a mixture of frustration and anticipation. His plans had been clever, designed to isolate and implicate the humans. Yet he underestimated Captain Mirov's resolve and the depth of her strategic acumen. The council meeting that followed was charged with a palpable tension. Representatives of various planetary systems gathered, their faces somber, their minds preoccupied with the looming threat of a wider conflict. Elena stood before them, her posture commanding, her voice steady. "This attack was not the work of Earth," she declared, her words resonating in the chamber. "We are committed to maintaining peace and order in this system. We propose a joint task force to investigate these incidents, one led by the Council but fully supported by Earth's resources." Tharkle, his expression controlled, rose to speak. "While we appreciate Earth's readiness to support the investigation, we must not overlook any possibilities. Everyone is a suspect until proven otherwise." His gaze locked with Elena's, a silent challenge passing between them. The discussions that ensued were intense and prolonged. Elena navigated the complexities with a diplomat's grace, conceding where necessary to gain strategic advantages elsewhere. Slowly, the tide began to turn. The proposal for a joint task force was accepted, with stringent oversight to ensure impartiality. As the council session adjourned, Elena returned to the Intrepid, her spirit wearied but resolute. The battle was far from over, but she had managed to steer the situation away from immediate disaster. The galaxy was watching, and Earth had shown that it would not be baited into rash actions. In the silence of her quarters, Elena allowed herself a moment of introspection. The stars outside no longer seemed just celestial bodies, but witnesses to the unfolding human drama. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but she was determined to navigate it with honor. As the first light of Zephyria's twin suns pierced through the darkness of space, it cast long, shimmering trails across the hull of the UES Intrepid. Inside, the mood was cautiously optimistic. Captain Elena Mirov reviewed the latest reports from the Joint Task Force with a critical eye. The investigation into the sabotage was underway, and importantly, Earth's role in leading the restoration efforts had begun to alter perceptions across the Council. It was a delicate dance of diplomacy and strategy, played out against the backdrop of a galaxy on edge. The investigation was meticulous and transparent. Teams composed of various species, including humans, worked together, their activities broadcast across galactic networks. The damage to the space station was repaired, with a blend of technology from multiple worlds, symbolizing unity and cooperation. Slowly, the narrative began to shift from suspicion of Earth to a recognition of its contributions to peace and stability. Amidst this backdrop, General Tharkle watched the unfolding events with a complex mix of emotions. His plan to isolate Earth had backfired, turning into an opportunity for them to demonstrate their commitment to galactic harmony. Standing alone in his command center, he gazed out at the stars, contemplating the change tactics. The Council's acceptance of Earth's proactive measures forced him to reconsider his approach. Perhaps, he mused, there was room for a different kind of engagement with humanity, one that did not always prepare for conflict, but instead anticipated cooperation. Back on the Intrepid, Elena convened a meeting with her senior advisors to discuss the next steps. "We've gained some ground," she acknowledged, "but we must solidify these gains. We need to propose something bold, something that shows we are here for the long haul, committed to the galaxy's well-being." Commander Lee suggested, "What about a permanent mixed-species initiative? Something like a cultural and technological exchange program, headquartered here in Zephyria. It would be a place where all Council species can collaborate, learn and grow together." Elena considered the idea, recognizing its potential. "Draft a proposal. Make sure it highlights mutual benefits. It's time we moved from mere participants to active contributors in this galaxy's future." The proposal was ready for the next Council session. As Elena presented it, her voice firm yet filled with genuine enthusiasm, the chamber listened intently. Here was a tangible offering, a step towards a shared future that could benefit all. The Council debated, dissected and discussed the initiative at length. Finally, the vote was cast, a majority in favor with only a few abstentions, including a cautious vote from General Tharkle. As the decision was announced, a quiet ripple of applause spread through the chamber, marking the approval of the first Earth-led galactic cultural and technological exchange. Elena felt a lightness she hadn't experienced since the beginning of this mission. It was a victory, not just strategically, but morally. In the weeks that followed, the exchange was established, quickly becoming a vibrant hub of activity. Species from across the galaxy contributed their knowledge, arts, and technology. Earth's role in this new venture was seen not as an imperial force, but as a unifying one. Elena walked through the exchange on its opening day, her eyes taking in the lively interactions between different species. Artists shared techniques, scientists discussed theories, and children played in newly formed friendships that crossed planetary borders. It was a microcosm of what the galaxy could become if peace prevailed. As the sun set on Zephyria, casting a golden glow over the exchange. Elena stood beside General Tharkle, watching the festivities. Perhaps, Tharkle said, turning to her with a thoughtful look, we are not so different, Captain. Perhaps what we seek is not so disparate after all. Elena smiled, sensing not just the closure of a chapter, but the beginning of a new era. Perhaps, General, let's see what the future holds. And with that, the story of conflict, diplomacy, and hopeful peace drew to a close. The galaxy had watched as Earth moved from a feared invader to a respected ally, and as the stars shone brightly above, the UES Intrepid no longer stood as a symbol of war, but as a testament to the possibilities of peace.